All right, so I gave my take in my patron breakdown today. Those of you that aren't patrons, I encourage you to go check it out, see if you can support me. Ton of content. I'm actually picking up big game coverage now, meaning I'm going to cover other big games around the league, playoff games throughout the playoffs. I also covered Wiseman's games in the G League. Had a real strong take about that. I don't know if I'm going to get into that on this one, but let me elaborate on the Steph Curry injury. Okay? So, first of all, thank God that it wasn't some catastrophic injury, right? If he got rolled up on higher on the knee, that could have been franchise altering. I don't think I have to explain that to anybody, right? And in the moment, I was hot. I was fucking pissed. Yeah, you can go check my Twitter feed. I said, hey, we need to send the goons at him. Revenge needs to be taken, right? It's funny though too, because we've all had this happen to us one way or another. When something almost happens really dangerous or scary, you're so upset that it almost happened, right? You kind of lose your mind, right? Like it's like, whew, like someone swerves on the freeway and you just lose your mind. You're like, dude, you could have just killed us all, right? So I think there was an element of that with Kerr and everybody. It was like, oh my God, what did you just do, right? And so everybody was pissed. But after I slept on it this morning, I went back to the tape, I freeze framed it, and I looked at it. And the reality is Marcus Smart was starting to dive for the ball before Steph stepped in front of the ball. That's what I saw with my eyes. And, it's kind of like what Draymond said. That's who Marcus Smart is every day of the week, right? 10 out of 10 times Marcus is going to dive for that ball. So it's hard to call it dirty, right? And my guy, I saw my guy on Patreon. You're saying, well, he kind of leaned, he swayed into Steph's knee, the angle, right? It's subjective. You can argue against me. I'm just telling you what I saw. Again, last night I was ready to call up Chris Mills and tell him pull up in front of the bus. That's an old school reference for you there, but yeah, I was hot. But going back after my emotions have cooled it. Look, there was a point in the play. There was a beat. There was a frame where they both were turning. And there was a moment where they both could have went and got down for the ball. Steph decided to try to go and scoop it. And Marcus Smart, again, being Marcus Smart, dove and rolled up on Steph Curry. The way I understand the unwritten rule is you don't dive at a guy's legs if the ball's down at their legs, right? But if the ball is away from both of you, now it's fair game. It's fair game. Are you going to go try and run and scoop it? Or are you going to get? In fact, I've taught my players to get down just to protect against that very incident, right? But so that's my take on it. I actually think the kick to Clay seconds later, that was actually a more dirty play. If you want to call something that was like unnatural or out of pocket, that kick towards Clay in the same sequence, thankfully nothing happened to Clay, was actually the dirtier play. You know what I did love, though, was post-game, Draymond's self-awareness, right? Like Draymond knows he can't say anything about those plays, right? Because he's done those exact plays. But again, objectively speaking, frame by frame, the heat of the moment, I get it. I thought that same thing, but it looks like Smart started to get down long before Steph. Steph's got to get down there, really. I don't want to put blame on him. It is what it is. Was it necessary at that stage in the game? And again, if it was a different guy, I think that's the key point to it. If you had a guy that's not known as a hustle, hit the floor guy do it, now you might start to say, well, why are you doing that right there? But Marcus Smart, that's how he plays every night, man. So again, we're just lucky that it wasn't the knee or something more catastrophic like that. I know most of Warrior Nation, y'all probably didn't sleep well, right? Now I'm going to put the silver lining into this now that we've got the diagnosis. And who knows, man, because it could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, we don't know, right? But if you gauge how Steph kind of trotted to the locker room, I saw someone comparing it to Anthony Davis. No, Anthony Davis damn near lost his fucking foot on that rollover. Anthony Davis's, the top of his foot touched earth. Like that was looked like a much more severe injury, but I don't know. But let's say it's 2 weeks or so for Steph Curry. The silver lining is something that I have spoken about this with several instances. I remember when KD went down in Washington years ago, right? And the only reason I'm not doing this just to be positive, y'all know me, like the people that follow me, I'm far from an optimist, right? But I've seen this play out so many times that I truly believe in this silver lining, right? That the 2 or so weeks that Steph sits out at his age, it's probably going to help him. Seriously, as long as there's no lingering effects. And again, thank God it's not a knee, because those things, it's harder to be confident in a knee, right? That's a different beast. But it's funny though, because, you know, in the Bucks blowout, you saw Warriors Twitter trying to explain and validate Steph's impact because he only had 8 points, right? Like everybody's on, oh, no, listen, no. You know the saying, don't argue with fools, right? Don't try. It makes us as a fan base seem insecure. If they don't get it, they don't get it. Don't explain it, right? But then, you know, he goes for 47 against Washington, and Warriors Twitter is beating their chest talking about, oh, I thought he regressed, right? Here's the reality. The 8-point night isn't proof that he's regressed, right? But the 47-point night isn't proof that he hasn't. And when you're dealing with a superstar of that talent, it doesn't usually happen overnight, right? It's that he just can't do it as much. Instead of having a bad game every 10 games, he has 2 every 10 games, right? And that's how it works. And so it brings me back to the point of a 34-year-old Steph Curry missing, 15 days right now. That's not the worst thing in the world. If he was 24, you say, oh, damn, just the preparation, that might hurt him more. At this age, he's probably just going to have fresh legs come playoff time. So, again, just a sigh of relief from Warriors Nation. And I think, for however long it is until seeding is out the window, right? I just talked about Dallas, Minnesota. There's spooky teams all over, right? Seeding's out of the window. For the time being, you hand the keys to Jordan Poole and you let him and Kuminga break out of the system a little bit. Let them kind of establish a secondary identity, because that was the big takeaway from that Boston game. Again, I have a whole breakdown and we can go into the details. The Celtics are very impressive, but we only really kind of can play one way. And it doesn't always stylistically match up. Last night, we needed to get to the line, we needed to get to the rim, and we needed to use more force, right? And Poole and Kuminga, let them establish, even if it breaks the system, some ISO ball, let them get in their bag and show their gifts. That way, when we get back to somewhat near full capacity, we have a second style to play. Now, the biggest roadblock to that is probably Klay Thompson, right? I feel guilty saying this, but we can't let Klay get in the way of what Poole's ready to do right now. Because you saw, in the third quarter, no Steph. What did Klay put up? 20. He was 8 to 24 last night. He was just heaving. And Poole yielded to Klay to start that second half. Got him a couple shots. And then about halfway through that third quarter, he was like, all right, I got to get going. I got to get in my bag, right? And so, look, we got to keep bringing Klay along here. I'm not saying ice him out of the offense. I'm just saying Klay can't be the number one option now that Steph's out. That's not how it's going to work, because we know Klay is not where he needs to be right now, right? Jordan Poole needs to be the focal point of the offense until Steph gets back. And I just hope that that's established. Curry, you got to do your job, bro. No, everybody, even the Celtics, man, you saw Klay come down the lane and punch that late in that game. Tice was like, oh, everybody in the league has empathy for Klay and wants to see him playing healthy, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean, you can let him get away with stuff that's hurting the overall good of the team. And so it's upon everybody to establish that let Poole cook right now. Use Kuminga more, right? We were so perimeter oriented in that game because of that defense. How about a couple post catches for Kuminga? Let him get to the line. He's a foul magnet. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. And again, go check me out for all the breakdowns.